Now, stay tuned for Super Trax, America's ultimate mud and monster truck challenge.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Chapman at the St. Paul Civic Center in Minnesota. Just around the corner, a thirsty monster called First Blood attempts to drag down barefoot last year's American champion.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tallahassee Civic Center in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm Fred Kepner, and along with almost 24 of the nation's fastest super modified mud racers, we are getting ready for what could be the ultimate showdown in indoor off-road racing. The big rivalry between Jeff Acker's Insanity supercharged Chevrolet powered roadster and the three-time and defending world champ Tom Martin in the Super Trooper 32 Chevy could be coming to a head right here in Tallahassee. Welcome to Super Trax.
The United States Hot Rod Association presents the ultimate from the wide world of motorsports, Super Trax.
Here at the St. Paul Civic Center in Minnesota, we are just about ready to begin a rather unusual monster truck program. A field of nearly a dozen of the nation's top monster trucks are ready to start qualifying side by side in a field that will include a double elimination first round. In the near lane, Doug Spanier, one of Minnesota's own, leaves the starting line to set the pace here in the qualifying round. The elapsed time for Spanier's master of disaster Chevrolet, 3.26 seconds on this short straight course. But here's the reigning U.S. Auto Association world champ, Tom Lasers barefoot. The mark to beat of 3:26 Blazier in Fred Schaefer's team machine runs 3.37 seconds. Next up, Jim Thomas and Larry Tura. Tura in the Hercules machine in the far lane. Meanwhile, the barely tame Ford of Thomas leaves the starting line. The mark to beat 3:26, Thomas runs 3.24 seconds. And on a short straightaway course like this, reaction times are going to be just as important as elapsed time. The Pennsylvania-based camper shell equipped machine of Tura called Hercules leaves the line. And Tura takes it through at 4.15 seconds. Remember, we've got almost a dozen trucks in competition, and you're going to have to lose 2 times before you're completely out of this contest. So with the first 4 machines completing their qualifying run, Jim Thomas leads qualifying in barely tame at 3.24 seconds. It's time for this week's Crunch of the Week. In Augusta, Georgia, John Moore's No Problem and Gary Wiggins' Mopar Magic battled it out for an event title. No Problem took the win, but a rough landing and a flat tire put him into the guardrail, doing serious front-end damage. But it didn't matter at that point because the big white and yellow Ford had pulled out this incredibly close victory. That's this week's Crunch of the Week. Super Trax will be right back with more extreme motorsports action. Don't go away. One of the most unusual monster truck competitions ever devised by the U.S. Auto Association. A double elimination first round. But right now we're still qualifying one of the largest field of indoor monsters we've ever seen. Mike Beeler and the Wrecker, a newcomer to the U.S. Auto Association Tour, leaves the line on this short 150-foot monster truck course. Beeler records an elapsed time of 5.20 seconds. Now the Twister entry, Dave Stasic, a longtime North Country campaigner. Great run for the Twister. He's on a pass. 5.13 seconds after a slow launch, but a great top end. That man's going to be tough in elimination. Now Ohio's Gary Bauer in the Lōn Ranger Ford Bronco, one of the original mini monster trucks, leaves the starting line hard. Oh, nosedive for Bauer. He barely drives it out. That one should have been a disaster. Great driving for the Ohio campaigner. Bauer saves himself and his truck. The elapsed time, 3.29 seconds. But now, the 1989 Rookie of the Year, Rob Fuchs in the first front Ford. A great run. Fuchs comes down hard on the brakes. He stops it before the wall. The mark to beat was 3:24. Fuchs run 3 seconds flat for the #1 spot. That'll bring up Kid Rarig and the Thunder Chicken, of all things. The Chevrolet leaves the line. Rarig loses the tarpaulin on the back of the deck, but keeps it straight. The elapsed time, 3:21. That'll be good for the number 2 qualifying spot for the relative unknown.
Rob, how are those brakes feeling?
I'm glad they worked. It got a little on the front end there, and I hit the throttle just a little too hard trying to pull it out, and got going a little fast.
Did you realize that was qualifying?
Yeah.
You always come out and put on that strong of a performance?
I'll see if I can go faster before the night goes on here.
So what you're saying is maybe we need to go on and barricade that one corner?
No, I think I'll try to stay away from the walls and equipment now.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Rob Hughes holds a great interview, as Chris Chapman has found out. She'll be down on the floor throughout the event. But qualifying shows us that the First Blood Ford may be the killer here in Minnesota. And we've got a showdown of champions in Tallahassee, Florida in the super modified mud racing ranks. Stay with us. Now to the Tallahassee Civic Center in Tallahassee, Florida for a gathering of giants in the super modified mud racing world. No less than 24 machines are ready to do battle in an 80-foot long mud pit, 36 inches deep, with the objective to record the quickest elapsed time in that distance. But you must stop your machine within 80 feet past the finish line, or you'll risk disqualification. Here's Ron Smith out of the state of Michigan, the first man up in the supercharged Chevrolet-powered Fiat Coupe. And the Gold Fever machine locks up the brakes and stops in time. The first run through the pit will be an official #1 mark to beat at 1.907 seconds. And you see the look on Smith's face. He's not happy with that run at all, despite the fact that it looked nearly picture perfect. The crowd watches as the next machine pulls to the starting line from Colchester, Connecticut. It's Pat Riley, a supercharged, small block Chevrolet-powered Jeep CJ funny car called Hellfire. Riley clears the motor, drops the visor, and gets ready for his shot. In and out of the throttle, now trying to stop, but he slams into the wall, going past the disqualification line marked by the cones and boundaries in front of him. And Riley knows not only is he out of the game, he may have some serious front-end damage on that run. On the replay, you can see a great launch, but the machine heads to the right-hand side of the pit. He lifts the throttle and then slams the wall. Obviously, a dejected Pat Riley down here against the wall. What happened?
Well, I got to the end of the pit, and some of the mud out of the soupy pit got on the brake pedal, and foot slipped right off.
Your foot literally slipped right off the brake pedal? That's all it was?
Yeah.
Well, that's a tough way to go out. The run was a 2:02. It looks like it's spun a little bit off the line as well.
Yeah, quite a bit. The pit's pretty soupy. It's going to... Some of the other trucks will hook a lot harder and be going a lot faster tonight, that's for sure.
An incredible run with only 2 machines down the course. The mark to beat stands at the Gold Fever Fiat's 1.907 second run. Moving to the starting line from Waxhaw, North Carolina, Jody Kelly, the 1923 Ford T Roadster called Stumpy's T, that finished so well in the 1990 U.S. Hobbit Association Camel World Points Championship battle, and is now threatening Tom Martin, the 3-time world champ, for the points lead this season. A great run, a lot of spraying mud as Kelly puts it sideways in the shutdown area, but he'll stop it with plenty of room to spare. On the replay, look at the spray, 2.02 seconds. You are covered with mud. This thing was dead sideways down at the finish line.
Was it?
What happened? Did it seem like it spun on you?
I have no idea.
A 2:02. I venture to say that is probably not going to hold up to qualify.
No, I doubt.
It's a tough break. I know you wanted to put more distance between yourself and Martin.
Yep, I sure did, but that's racing.
Indeed it is, and it looks like it's going to take a run much quicker to even try and threaten for the lead. Here's the Team Rancho shock absorber machine of the incredible Mark Watrous. Out of the state of Michigan, it's a supercharged 557 cubic inch Ford-powered Thunderbird funny car. This is the same machine that recently made this Tallahassee track the quickest in the world when he ran 1.714 seconds. A great run, nearly out of bounds, a tremendous amount of steam off the hot exhaust headers, but it looks like Watrous may have one that made the field. The elapsed time, 1.999 seconds. Watrous actually doesn't look too happy with the run, but here on the replay, you can see that the machine left plenty hard off the starting line. What is happening out there? You were all over the place.
Pat, the pit's real wet on it. It started pulling real hard to the right, and I had to back on his throttle. Didn't have much choice. Either that or take down the pole.
Based on the fact that the track is kind of iffy right now, do you think a 199 will hold up?
Kind of slim.
Mark Watrous apparently does not believe that he will be one of the 4 quickest qualifiers who will return to do battle for the title. Here is Melvin Brown, the Ohio veteran with not 1 but 2 machines in competition. This is his rear-engine, supercharged, Chevy-powered dragster called Red Heat. Inching forward into the starting line, staging beams. Now the visor comes down and he gets ready. Incredibly rough pass on the top end. Brown thrown around inside the roll cage violently. He had to feel every bit of that. Covered with mud as well, like Mark Watrous just said. A very soupy pit that is throwing mud up all over the place. The elapsed time for the Red Heat machine, 2 seconds flat. 2.008 seconds will give him third in the field. Here's the brother team of Jeff and Jack Sturkin, who finished number 2 in the world in 1989. Their supercharged small block Chevy S10 called Ground Zero lines up. On the brakes hard, sliding towards the DQ line, but he keeps it inbounds by a matter of feet. What a wild ride through the shutdown area for the Michigan driver. A great starting line launch, but the machine just all over at the finish line. The track is turning to ice literally down there. The elapsed time, 2.150 seconds, and that will qualify him fourth. Here's Tony Perotti, another Michigan campaigner. An immaculate 1927 Ford Model T Roadster with 2,000 supercharged Chevrolet horsepower. Incredible launch. He stops it in time, but that had to be one of the most violent starting line leads we have seen so far in this super modified contest. Tony, you've got to be concerned with what's going on out there. This is a completely different track than you ran 175 on before.
It's totally different. It's a lot more water in it, a lot more slicker.
That run, the car left the starting line with a fair amount of tire spin, which means the starting line is not as good as it was last night. But then 10 feet off the line, it picked the front wheels up.
Yeah, it's kind of slick on the starting line, but once you get moving, it evens out, but you still got to worry about stopping.
Well, that run picks up the pace in this field tremendously. And now it's time for this week's Power Drive. At Anaheim, California, the stretched wheelbase supercharged Ford of Dave Walsh called Irish Challenger had to make a full pull to the 200-foot mark to win the event. Hooked to over 50,000 pounds, he cautiously eased off the starting line and didn't plant his foot until the half-track mark. But when he did, out the back door it went, 206 feet for a full pull to win. That's this week's Power Drive. In just a few moments, Super Trax continues with more motorsports action. Stay with us. We're back at the Tallahassee Civic Center, and right now it takes a run of 2.008 seconds just to qualify for the 4-car field of super modified mud champions that will do battle for the title. Here's the brand new Bad Omen machine. A supercharged, fuel-injected, methanol-burning Chevrolet ramp motor. The driver, Gary Cook, longtime monster truck owner who's made the switch. Cook on the brakes hard, sliding around. He'll stop within 3 feet of the disqualification line, but you can see a tremendous amount of tire spin just off the starting line, and that kept him to a 2.48 second run. Meanwhile, we earlier saw Melvin Brown's Red Heat dragster qualify for the field. Here's Melvin's second entry, a nitrous oxide-injected Jeep CJ funny car with Chevrolet power called Blue Max. Melvin, another rough ride. Man, he's getting slammed around in that car tonight, actually taking a sweeping right-hand turn to stay within bounds in the shutdown area, and it works. The bad news is that the run of 2.09 seconds won't qualify him. Byron Tinky from the state of Iowa, the supercharged Chevy Coupe Bad Habit is next. A wild bouncing ride. Tinky manages to keep it in bounds. He had to go quicker than 2.008 seconds to qualify. He runs 2.029 seconds and misses the cut by all of 21 thousandths of a second. Stephen Nessimo from New England in the machine called Mad Jack's Red Eye Express, a supercharged Chevrolet-powered fiberglass Jeep CJ funny car, pulls to the starting line. And big problems off the starting line, and then a puff of smoke at the finish line, and Nessimo's got major problems. It sounded originally like they came from the transmission area. 2.78 seconds won't help him a bit. But back on the starting line, the big guy in the black fire suit turns on the nitrous oxide injection system for one of his two team cars. This is the man who has struck terror into the hearts of mud racers everywhere. Any hardcore mud racing fan knows that the name that has dominated this sport is Mud Patrol. But this time around, the car to look out for is the brand new Super Trooper 1932 Chevrolet. Tom Martin out of Portage, Indiana, has dominated this sport like no other man with an unprecedented 3 straight world championships. But this year, Tom will be driving this brand new ride, and unlike other drivers, he's recruited a sponsor. The difference is that Tom recruited his sponsor to drive the Mud Patrol World Championship winning machine. Tom, most drivers always solicit sponsorship help, but you actually put your sponsor in the other car. What was the reasoning behind it?
Well, when I originally went to Paul for a sponsorship, I knew he was a racer, and he knew what I needed to keep going. So that's really helped me land a sponsor. It's really tough to get a sponsor nowadays, and he's a good driver, and I thought he'd like to try it.
And then he obviously has worked out pretty well.
Oh, real well. He enjoys it, and we're going to get better and better.
How much experience did Paul have before he got into this?
He never had any experience in a mud racer, but he does drive late model cars and Grand National cars.
Well, it's a whole lot different than round track. This is just 2 seconds, and it's over.
After the first run, his instincts are good, and if you're a racer, you're a racer.
Well, I'm settled in the car, but I just can't figure out the racetracks. They keep changing on me, you know.
That's a problem really anywhere in the country that you go. You got to figure out the consistency of each mud pit, right?
Yeah, well, we've been having trouble in the car going to the left. Well, last night the car went right, and that was a new one on me.
Tom, what's the basic difference between the new Super Trooper and the old World Championship winning Mud Patrol entry?
Well, the engine's a little different. It has a higher power band, but the main difference is a longer wheelbase. Makes the car easier to handle and easier to stop, and I'm just not quite used to it yet.
Is it going to take a little time to get used to the benefits of the new car? Is that the problem?
Yeah, I think so, and you know, we didn't have any test time before we brought this car out, and we're racing every weekend, and we still haven't had much test time. And we don't know which way to go, and we don't want to change it too much because it's running pretty good. So this isn't the time to test right now.
While the new Super Trooper may be one of the strongest machines out there, don't get the idea that the Mud Patrol has slacked off. This car can still win another world championship. And the chance to drive this car would be the equivalent of somebody being pulled off the street to drive A.J. Foyt's Indy car. It's a dream come true. If it turns into a situation where one of the two cars is leading a world championship race, what's the basic goal?
Well, I want to win again, and I'd like to see Paul come in second, but what happens, happens.
And the history behind the Mud Patrol machine that Schaefer now wheels is incredible in itself. In 1988 in Tampa, Florida, it was the first super-modified mud racer ever to break the 2-second barrier. He recorded a 1.97-second elapsed time that stood as the U.S. Hobbit Association record for another season and a half. Schaefer found that the machine has plenty of power in his very first run when it went straight up into a wheel stand. But now he's chasing the World Points Championship. The ex-oval track driver lines up in the nitrous-injected, fuel-injected Chevrolet-powered coupe. thrilled with the performance of the machine. His driving equally impressive. The elapsed time, 2.021 seconds. Just misses making the program. Coming up next, it's a man who's held the U.S. Auto Association world record multiple times. Jim Weber, the supercharged Chevy American-made from Milwaukee. Wheels up and out of bounds as Weber cannot stop the machine on the run. An incredible ride that ends in disqualification by mere inches. Look at this launch. Wheels up at half track. He's on the brakes hard, but he sails off the end. That's all she wrote for Weber.
Obviously, you are pretty upset about that quickest run of the night, 1.900 seconds.
You got to go.
You had to stay in it. You couldn't shut it off, could you?
No.
Was it just a matter of the shutdown area being slippery, or did you have a brake problem?
Well, I got airborne through the pit. I could feel it come up and get away, and I was just hoping that it'd catch enough on the end when I come down that I would get it to stop.
Yeah, when you're in the air, the brakes aren't going to help you.
No, they're not.
Tough.
No.
Yeah, the Bales will. Tough brake guy, but an excellent run.
And that will leave in this qualifying round the two drivers who have involved themselves in one of the most fierce rivalries the sport has ever known. This man, Jeff Acker from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the Insanity supercharged Chevrolet-powered 1923 Ford Model T, has been threatening Tom Martin's bid at an incredible fourth straight world championship all year. Here is his shot at qualifying for the field. He must go quicker than 2.008 seconds to make the shootout. An incredible run. Can he stop it in time? Unbelievable. By a matter of inches, he is either in bounds or out of bounds. If it was good, we'll have to look from the overhead camera. Take a look. And it looks like mud is what actually knocked over the pylon. The machine throwing mud in front of it. The elapsed time, 1.934 seconds, will qualify Acker. And this man has got to be upset at that prospect. Three-time independent world champ Tom Martin, the brand new Super Trooper, is on the starting line. And Tony Ferroti is on that bump spot, number 4 spot. He's at the end of the track, keeping a careful eye on whether or not the world champ will knock him out of the field. Martin must go quicker than 2 seconds flat, period. If he does and stays in bounds, he'll qualify for the field. On the brakes hard. He stops it in time, but was the run good enough? Martin goes 1.899 seconds. Ferroti can only accept the consolation from other drivers who have failed to make this field. Tom Martin leads the pack, 189, followed by the Gold Fever Fiat Braun Smith, arch rival Acker, and Watrose's Team Rancho Thunderbird. Now that we've completed qualifying for one of the largest fields this season of U.S. Auto Association monster truck action, this is where things get interesting. It's a double elimination first round. Now the bye run goes to the number 1 qualifier. That'll be First Blood and Rob Fuse, who ran 3 seconds flat. And a beautiful sky-high run. Fuse will advance automatically to the next round as the low qualifier got the bye run due to the odd number of cars. But remember, everybody else has to lose twice in order to lose completely in this round of eliminations. Double the show for the fans. Now on the starting line, it will be the Wrecker versus the Lōn Ranger. Mike Beeler takes on the Ohioan Gary Bauer side by side. Beeler gets the whole shot. Bauer trying to come around, but he can't do it. The win goes to the Wrecker. And the Lōn Ranger is once again in a situation where he must lose twice in order to lose completely. You got to hand it to Beeler. It was the length of that whole shot that kept him out in front because Bauer was moving hard at the finish line. The next pair on the starting line, it'll be the Thunder Chicken taking on Larry Torres, Hercules from Pennsylvania. Kid Waring in the bright yellow Chevrolet S10. Leaves the starting line right with Hercules. We've got a race. Incredibly close. And Kid Waring advances the Thunder Chicken to round 2. Larry Torres will have to come back in a do-or-die situation to keep from losing a second time. Waring heads back to the pits. He knows he's got it made at this point. Torres the one that has to worry. This time around, Jim Thomas out of Minnesota in the barely tamed Ford near lane, taking on the Twister, a truck that looked very strong in the qualifying round. But this time it's Thomas that comes from behind to take the win. A great come-from-behind battle. Take a look at this airborne finish. Beautiful bounce that put him straight over the finish line with power still going to the ground through the rear wheels. So Thomas advances, and again the Hercules machine will come back for double eliminations. But this time around, Todd Glazer in the far lane in the incredible barefoot Chevy takes on Doug Spanier's Master of Disaster, and it's all barefoot, a full truck length advantage at the finish line. And again, Spanier will have to come back for a double elimination bout. Look at the height achieved by the incredible Todd Glazer. That kid knows how to put a truck in the air. He'll head back to the pits with a tremendous advantage. Looks like Rob Fuchs will have some competition before this thing's over. But the competitors are already getting ready for the second round of competition. Now remember, you may have lost in the first round and you can come back, but if you lose this time, you're history. In the near lane, it's the wrecker of Mike Beeler against the 1989 Rookie of the Year, Rob Fuchs. The working man's hero, an unsponsored independent from Woodstock, Illinois, who qualified #1 in this field. Both drivers staged and ready. Starting line. Rob Fuchs had the least poor of those two reactions, and you can bet Beeler is feeling the sting of that one on the starting line. Fuchs looked picture perfect at the finish line, but if he cuts those kind of reaction times against anybody else, he's going to be history. The wrecker is now officially a loser. Here in the second round, you don't get another chance. The fairly tame Ford of Jim Thomas in the near lane takes on the one and only Thunder Chicken. Kid Waring lining up against the Minnesota Ford in a Ford Chevy battle. And again, neither driver very strong on the starting line. A lot of smoke from the Thunder Chicken. Waring's got problems after qualifying #2 in the field, and the win goes to the Minnesota Ford. Lots and lots of death smoke, lots of extremely hot fluid pouring out from underneath. The Thunder Chicken is wounded. On the replay, you can see the Thunder Chicken in the background burning up as the barely tame Ford took a good win. Look at the sparks, either the harmonic balancer or just the fan and pulley itself coming apart. Then tremendous amounts of fluid and smoke out of the truck. Kid Waring's machine is toast. On the starting line already, a battle of two first-round losers, the Twister against Hercules. The winner here is the only one that will advance. Good side-by-side start. Heading to the finish line. It's the advantage going to the Torah team machine. The Hercules Chevrolet takes the win, and the Twister is now out. You can see on the replay at half-track they were even, but then the Twister fell back. Torah continued accelerating. He'll get the victory and advance to the semifinal round. And that, of course, leaves only one pair on the starting line. It'll be Barefoot, the incredible Chevrolet that took Fred Shaver to the 1990 U.S. Auto Association World title, against Minnesota's own Doug Spanier and the Master of Disaster. They leave the line together. It's a perfect race. And at the finish line, who can tell? Unbelievable. Both trucks bouncing all over the place. We'll have to see a replay to determine the winner on that one. A picture-perfect airborne scream for the incredible Todd Glazer, while in the other lane, the Master of Disaster machine was equally high, but watch the landing that Spanier endures. Incredible! But the official decision is that Barefoot advances to the semifinal round. The Master of Disaster's effort will not go unnoticed. It will be a war. As you can see, the #1 qualifier, First Blood, Rob Fuchs, still looking good. And, of course, Barefoot right on his heels. Chris Chapman has Todd Blazer down at the finish line.
I don't know, it's going to be hard. I haven't ran in the left lane yet. And last time I almost endoed it, so I'm kind of worried about this other lane here. I have no idea how it's going to react on this lane.
So what kind of advice would Fred Schaefer give you right now?
Hard to say. He'd want me to win, but, you know, I don't want to roll a truck over. I'm going to do my best.
It will be a war. Who will it be, Ford or Chevrolet? Stay with us because we've got a lot more action coming up, including super modified mud racing as well. Don't go away. Here at the St. Paul Civic Center, we've got 4 machines remaining. The barely Tame Ford on the far lane and the First Blood entry. They leave the line together. Fuchs with a slight problem off the line. Gets back on the throttle, almost off the cars. But he will advance to the final round over the home state machine you see. A tough break for Thomas as he had a slight advantage, especially when Fuchs had to lift right there off the throttle. Getting a little sideways as he left the line, even more sideways across the cush cars, but he'll be in the final round. The question is, who will he face for the U.S. Harmon Association Championships? It'll be Hercules, Larry Torre in the near lane, and Barefoot, Todd Blazer on the far side of the course. The defending world champ machine staged and ready. The Christmas tree lights go green. They leave side by side, but it's Barefoot on a nosedive again. Blazer trying to stop the truck, and he barely does before meeting the concrete wall. You can see on the replay the start was even, but watch this finish. Unbelievable ride for the incredible Todd Blazer. He'll advance to the final round. Let's take an isolated look at this landing. Unbelievable, boy. He's steering in there and hitting the brakes at the same time. And he has survived to the final round, and survived is the key word here in St. Paul. Keep in mind these drivers have been through 4 rounds of eliminations and qualifying. And in the final round, it will now be a war. Even though the Barefoot Chevy did not qualify that well, Rob Fuchs, the pole qualifier, of course, goes into the final to take on one of the most feared trucks in the sport. The young independent from Woodstock, Illinois, has been picture perfect all day long with wheel standing starts like this first round effort. Could have the power to overcome it. We'll see. Look at this pit. Solid clay, yet no ruts. That means that the track is still soupy and may not be able to offer the traction these drivers are hoping for. The 4 quickest qualifiers are back and ready. And Ron Smith's Gold Fever starts things off. Unbelievable run. Did it go out of bounds, or is it still okay? Jim Weber says it's okay down there at the finish line, and so does Smith. There it is, less than a foot away from going out of bounds. The incredible Gold Fever sets the pace at 1.882 seconds. That's actually quicker than he ran during qualifying. And Mark Watrous' Team Rancho Thunderbird would like to improve. And Watrous shuts the engine down a little early, and that may have hurt him. The elapsed time, 1.951 seconds, won't be enough to take over the lead. Watrous' conservatism hurt him there. Now it's Jeff Acker, the Insanity Roadster out of Milwaukee. He shuts off early as well. He barely stops in time, and the elapsed time, 1.80 seconds. A simply amazing run. The helmet comes off, and as a touring professional, there is nothing sweeter than taking over the lead with one more man to go. Who would have ever thought that this course would have come around like this?
I don't know. It sure did start to hold power pretty decent, and I don't know, as long as you can get it stopped, should be able to get a nice time, and I don't know, there's one stiff one back there yet. We'll see what happens.
One real tough one. Great job. 1.80.
Thank you very much.
Incredible. Looking at the replay, the launch was perfect, and he shut it down about 3 feet early in order to stop. He takes the lead, and this man must unload a big one to take the #1 spot and the victory. Tom Martin ran 1.899 seconds in qualifying. You just saw Jeff Acker improve 13 hundredths. from his qualifying run, and Martin must do the same if he expects to win this event. He's got to go quicker than Acker's 1.803 second effort. Readying himself. And Martin comes completely out of the pit. All four wheels airborne at the halfway mark. Martin slams his fist down in disgust. Jeff Acker wins the Super Modified Championship, and he looks like he can't even believe it. Look at Martin airborne into mid-range. He stopped in plenty of time. The elapsed time, 1.862 seconds. Unbelievable run considering the problems he had. The crowd can't believe it. The world champ gets beaten again in 1991 by the man who is chasing him down to stop the Tom Martin hierarchy in Super Modified Mud Racing. As the helmet comes off of certainly the killer in the Super Modified ranks, you have to wonder what's going through his mind. If I had to guess, Tom, was I right in assuming that you shut the engine off because you couldn't see anything because the front end was so high?
Yeah, I thought I was going left on the track, and I had to back out. You know, it felt pretty good, but if you can't see, you gotta back out.
But you shut it off at an honest 50 feet. It was literally just past half track that you shut it off, maybe 55 feet, and it's still went 186. Would it have been good enough, do you think?
Oh, I think it would have. But, you know, you drive on instinct, and I didn't want to DQ, and if you can't see, you can't go.
One thing's for sure, after so many years of dominating this class, you know these guys are breathing down your neck.
Oh, yeah, but we got a long season to go, and I'm hanging on second. It's going to be tough.
Indeed it is, but you still got second place here tonight, and I'm going to add some points up, so great job.
Second place is pretty good.
Well, Peter Roth from the Camel team congratulates Jeff Acker of the Insanity Machine. Acker's got to be thinking about that possible world championship and becoming the first man to knock Martin out of the #1 spot in this sport since 1987. As we get ready for the Monster Truck final round here at the St. Paul Civic Center, Todd Blazier is ready with barefoot, but there's an interesting story behind the young man from Wisconsin.
Every monster truck event comes equipped with its own element of danger, may it be from running over the cars in the wrong fashion to a life-threatening situation. And one driver who is not afraid to say that he has been in that position before is Todd Blazier. Todd is the driver of Barefoot. Todd, at one point in your career, you were faced with a life-threatening situation.
Yeah, that's right. I rolled the hot stuff Jeep, and when I rolled it, upon impact, the roll cage crushed. Didn't have a heartbeat or pulse for 3 minutes. They did CPR, brought me back. And then I spent 2 days in intensive care, at the hospital.
If anything good came out of that event, you met Fred Schaefer.
Yeah, I was racing Fred Schaefer when I rolled the truck, and he was the first one at the hospital in the morning, and he offered me a job. And that's why I'm driving for Barefoot now. Well, actually, I met Todd when he was working for another monster truck. And we met down there in Georgia where he had rolled at, and Todd's a real good driver, aggressive driver. He's a young man, and he does a good job. And I asked him about if he would like to go to work for me, and he was real excited about it. He wanted to drive a real good truck. He's a good driver.
I have to ask you, you just said yes, that you're scared to death. Why are you doing it?
I ask myself that a lot. I was asking myself that on the way here. I don't know. I love the adrenaline pumping, and I just like excitement.
The excitement is one thing, but true balance and skill is another, and that's all part of a true natural driver. And indeed, Blazier has proven more than once that he is just that. But right now, all thoughts of fear have been put aside. His only concern is to get past this machine, the red First Blood Ford of Rob Fuchs, the pole qualifier, and the dominant force in elimination so far. Blazier, stuck in the left lane for the first time tonight, may also be disoriented by that maneuver by Rob Fuchs. It all comes down to this. 5 rounds of competition capped by a 6th. Staged and ready. The final round on the line. They lead together a slight advantage for the Ford. Here comes the Chevrolet. Another nosedive, but it looks like Blazier may have come around from behind. We'll have to take a look at it again. The whole shot went to the board, but look at the Chevrolet as the Ford goes sideways. Fuchs hands the win to Todd Blazier and Barefoot. Watch this landing. You could actually see Blazer look over to see where Fuchs was, and then he just had to hang on. Well, Fuchs had his own problems in the other lane, and the landing blows the right front tire. An incredible handling job for Fuchs, but Blazer takes the championship here at the St. Paul Civic Center. An incredible final round. Well, certainly with everybody gunning for three-time world champion Tom Martin, Jeff Acker was one of the guys that was breathing right down his neck. But this time around, it was a little bit different. You pulled it off, and you've got to be thrilled.
Yes, I am very thrilled. You get around stiff competition like that, and you definitely accomplish something.
Very seldom do we see a mud racing event pick up in elapsed time. Very seldom do we see a track get better. Do you have any idea why that happened here?
Well, they brought the clay down from Georgia, from what I was told, and once you start getting the ruts, it starts getting pretty sticky, and you can start turning some faster times if you don't have to deal with the ruts going through the pit. And that they seem to straighten out, so everything seemed to work pretty decent.
And one thing I should bring up is that when a pit gets sticky like that and gets ruts in it, it also beats the heck out of the guys running in it. You took some really hard rocks in that.
Yeah, it does. It rocks you around pretty good, and I hit my head on the roll bar a little bit, but that's what the padding's for.
Well, despite the brutal ride inside the cockpit, it was brute horsepower and driving talent that won this event for Acker. And this is only the beginning of a rivalry that should last the entire season with this man. Three-time world champ Tom Martin and a Super Trooper. We won't find out the winner of this one until the fall. It all comes down to this. An incredible final round. Not just the fact that Barefoot was able to overpower its opponent, but the fact that Rob Fuchs had been so dominant throughout the evening. To lose a battle as wild as that had to be heartbreaking for the Illinois campaigner. It's not going to slow down either. You're going to see more action like this for the rest of the season.
Some people like their racing competition hot, and I think Todd Blazer is no stranger to that word. What a way to win.
Thank you. It was a tough run. I didn't know if I'd be able to bring her down, on all four wheels, but it was a tough race.
So tell me about your heart. Where was it, in your throat or out the window?
It was out the window, I think. I don't know.
So after you come away here at the St. Paul Civic Center with a win, it looks like there might be some damage to the truck?
I don't know. Kind of looks that way. I think maybe it's just a shock that leaked fluid, but we'll have her running tomorrow night. Try to win her again.
So what do you think of this victory?
I'm happy. It's the first time I raced it, and I'm driving the world champion truck, and I got to uphold the name.
So have we seen the last of Todd Blazer in the winner's circle in the Barefoot truck?
No, I'll be around a while.
And rightfully so. Both the Barefoot truck and Tom Martin Super Trooper are defending world champions on the U.S. Harvard Association National Event Trail. Well, that's it from Tallahassee, Florida, here at the Tallahassee Civic Center. You couldn't have asked for a wilder event. Until next time, I'm Brett Kuttner. Thanks for being with us.